cars. And I left my notes inside the.
Good afternoon. I call this meeting to order, City of Chester deliberative meeting. City Council. It's 2:04 p.m. on June 24th. In attendance, we have the full council and mayor and Mr. Solicitor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of council, members of the public, and city folks. Welcome to the Monday, June 24th, 2024 deliberative meeting for the City of Chester. The following items are on the deliberative meeting agenda for consideration today. Ordinance. Bill number 2, Code of Ethics. Do you want me to read the body, or do you want me to just read the titles, Your Honor? Just titles?
Just titles.
Okay, thanks. My recommendation, and I had sent out a prior email, is that if time permits with council and the mayor and the chief of staff today, that we have an executive session to review bill number 2 following this meeting. Contract approvals. Resolution 56. Authorization for a consulting agreement submitted by PMT Consulting LLC to provide a written review of the city's parking management, including comprehensive review of the city's direct pass-through service costs, assess lot operations, and appraise parking enforcement effectiveness.
You skipped bill number 3.
Oh, I did skip bill number 3. Thank you, Councilman Green.
Yep.
Bill number 3, repealing various articles of Part 15 entitled Fire Prevention Code as follows. Article 1505, Life Safety Code adopted. Article 1511, permit fees. Article 25, open burning. Article 1531, explosives and fireworks. Article 1535, gas stations. Article 1541, building fire protection systems. Article 1555, smoke detection system installation. Resolution 57, authorization of a master service agreement submitted by GLS Professional Services LLC to partner with the city's finance departments to set the purchasing and procurement discipline by creating and implementing tools, techniques, and templates that will contribute to the city's overall efficiency and effectiveness in procurement activities. Resolution 58, to authorize the promotion of Christopher McGreen from the position of Battalion Chief to the position of Acting Deputy Chief, Bureau of Fire, Department of Public Safety. Resolution 59, to authorize the promotion of Brian Decker from the position of Captain to the position of Battalion Chief, Bureau of Fire, Department of Public Safety. Resolution 60, to authorize the promotion of Andrew Fridley from the position of firefighter to the position of acting captain, Bureau of Fire, Department of Public Safety. Resolution 61, to authorize the change of the age requirement to participate in the City of Chester's summer internship program to offer an opportunity to high school students who reside within the City of Chester who are or will be 15 years of age by the start of the program. Resolution 62, to authorize the submission of an application to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for the Public Works Zero Emission Vehicle Grant for the purpose of funding the fleet replacement in an amount not to exceed $1,575,074.
Excuse me, can we go back to resolution 61? You said they have to be 15 or 16?
Who are or will be 15 years of age by the start of the program. That's what.
So this says 16.
Mine says 15. Is it?
Mine says 15.
Mine says 15.
I think the actual resolution.
The actual resolution should say 15. If it says 16. So
It says 16.
So noted. That will correct that. Thank you.
It's 16 at the top, but if you look further down, it says 15 in the resolution.
Right. But both of them should, they both should say the same thing, correct?
No, it says whereas currently the city allows high school students.
And R will be 16.
So currently it allows 16, we want to drop it to
15, okay.
Resolution 63, to authorize the installation of an honorary street sign renaming the portion of Baker Street between Edward Street and Central Avenue to Reverend Dr. J. Pius Barber Way as a tribute to his dedication to the advancement of our community. Resolution 64, to authorize the appointment of Charette Golson as member of the City of Chester Zoning Board to fill the unexpired term of Patricia L. Worrell to expire December 31, 2024. Resolution 65, to authorize the appointment of Adelaide Evans as member of the Chester Parking Authority Board to fill the expired term of Marnie Hudson, term to expire December 31, 2025. Resolution 66, to authorize the appointment of Elizabeth Williams as a member of the Chester Parking Authority Board to fill the expired term of Pamela Haynes, term to expire December 31, 2026. That would conclude the resolutions, and there are no further ordinances for introduction.
67, did we do 67?
We do have one to add on the agenda. We should have resolution number
7.
And 68.
and 68.
Mhm.
Resolution 67 authorizes the appointment of the following individuals to the position of Patrol Officer, Chester Police Department, effective July 1, 2024, with a 1-year probationary period on a full-time basis, with all benefits applicable thereto at the salary range provided in the annual appropriation ordinance. 1, Ashby Shatine Brown. 2, Michael Tierney. And 3, Brandon Chamberlain. Further, said patrol officers are required to reside in the city of Chester for the first 5 years of employment and must submit proof of residency to the Human Resources Department within 3 months of their date of hire. Thereafter, they may maintain the residence within 50 miles of City Hall. Resolution 68, that it does hereby appoint the following individuals to the position of police cadets, Chester Police Department, effective July 8, 2024, at an hourly rate of $15 per hour on a per diem basis, not to exceed 8 hours per day, 5 days per week, with no benefits. 1, Leroy Whitaker, and 2, Angel Carrion Jr. Further, said police cadets shall attend the Delaware County Community College Academy to receive the required police certification and successfully complete all other pre-employment requirements.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Any of the agenda items here?
Can we just go through all of them? We can start with 56.
Okay, so resolution 56 is the consultant for parking management. So right now, we're bringing in, we have PFM, no, Park Premium. Sorry, all the acronyms. Premium is our current parking enforcement. They were the ones we awarded the contract for to enforce the parking. They will be here on Wednesday to give you an update and an outline of what's going on with the parking process. Also with that is the parking study that's being done. What I'm asking for with this individual is the consultant is to help, because we don't have the parking authority in place. We don't have the parking authority up and running. So this individual is going to actually help coordinate all 3 of those areas, the parking authority to get that up and operational, along with updating the ordinance, as well as working with the parking study group, and also working with the parking enforcement group to help us get this parking situation all under control. Also, at the same time, we're dealing with the actual lawsuit from the previous parking company who has been bombarding us with their attorneys have been bombarding our legal office with right to know requests. So we need someone that has that parking background experience that can help us really coordinate all those efforts. We don't have anyone in-house right now that's a kind of a parking expert that can coordinate all those efforts, so that's what we're looking for this individual.
And so, so their contract is not with the current premium contract. This is a separate contract.
We need an outside, because they have to coordinate all those efforts. And this is only for 160 hours, just to get the authority up, coordinate with the efforts of the lawsuit, and also coordinate with the parking study and this vendor.
And I see they're at $125 an hour with it says approximately 160 hours, and not to exceed 160 hours.
Correct, not to exceed that.
Okay, well, the contract says approximately though. So should we change that to not to exceed?
We can,
160 hours?
we can.
And that 160 hours, is there a time frame or an expectation of how long this contractor will be here? Or is it
We
just-
would normally do a contract for a year, and then with the optional 1-year extension for the 160 hours. Again, approximately 160, but we can put not to exceed 160. And it really depends on how this lawsuit moves, how the parking study moves. That's why I didn't want to put a time frame as far as locking him in, like you're going to have this done in 6 months. Because I just don't know. Because again, we still have a lot of different moving parts. We have to get the poles removed. There's legal issues we have to deal with on that in reference to taking the poles down, cutting them down, the parking meter heads that are on there. There's just things that are uncertain from the other parking group. And we have to be careful with that on how we're handling that, especially again with the lawsuit going on. So I didn't want to lock it into a 6 month, so I'm saying a year with a 1-year extension.
Now, 160 hours is not a lot of time.
Correct.
It doesn't seem as though it's a lot of time. So with all of this that you just explained, is that enough hours to accomplish what needs to be done? Or, you know?
In talking with the consultant and in also talking with Premium, who's the parking enforcement company, we believe that that's enough time. Anything outside of that, we should already have the foundation, like that's his role, is to get the foundational part in place. Because again, the parking authority was up and operational before.
Right.
So it's not as though he's recreating something from the beginning. So what he's doing is helping to pull the ordinances and stuff together, pulling those other two entities together. So from his viewpoint and from Premium's viewpoint, 160 hours is enough time.
I have a question regarding, you said we don't have a parking authority in place yet. So how did notices go on the constituents' vehicles saying this is, and it's in place? And
So-
they had to register, and like what areas are going to be required to register? I seen like 2 different locations. Is it going to be citywide or just in those areas that were listed, and how will our constituents be informed that these things are going to take place?
All right, so the answer to your question, starting with the first one, is Premium Parking is the one that's doing the notification. So the flyers that are going out, they're the ones, the company that is our hired enforcement company, they're the ones notifying the constituents.
Hold on right there. Just to make it even more clear, that's not considered the parking authority. So the parking authority is the board members that will be the authority over the parking management company. So the persons who put out the flyers is not the parking authority. It's the parking management company that we've contracted for.
So they've already begun to put notices on individuals. Is that the only way that they're marketing, that they're
I
going
just
to
want you to be clear, there's a difference between a parking authority and a parking management.
I have it, I
You
got
that?
it, yes.
Okay, good enough.
But I'm just trying to find out when, what locations, And what's the expectation?
So when you say when, it's starting now. When they come Wednesday, they will have the timeline laid out. I kind of briefly showed the timeline a few months ago. I didn't give you a printout copy of the timeline yet because we just met today at 11 to finalize the timeline. But I will tell you off the top right now, July 1st is when the soft enforcement goes into place. And that's what they're doing now. They're handing out the flyers. Soft enforcement is a reminder of what we had in place before. We're not changing anything. It's the same zones as what was in place before. It's the same areas. The cost is, again, according to the ordinance, nothing's changed in that. So all of that is still going to be the same.
So I guess the question with some of the constituents are, is it going to be citywide or just those?
It's just those zones,
Okay.
just what was in place before.
Before.
Like we had the ordinance in place. We're not changing that ordinance.
So
it's just,
everyone doesn't have to register in the city?
just the parking, that map I sent, zone 1 and zone 1 through zone 3.
Yeah.
Those are the residential parking areas. That's what's being enforced. We also, where you see where the parking meters are, that's going to not be, it's going to be soft enforcement starting July. They're going to notify. Soft enforcement will be August. What we call hard enforcement starts in September for the actual on-street parking. So we're rolling it out slowly. So they're starting with the residential parking. Then they'll go to the on-street parking hard enforcement in September.
Is Widener included in that?
Only in the residential, not on the street. Remember, the street is still the whole court issue, which is, I had that conversation with the receiver today in reference to how we're going to address Widener. If you all remember in the study, we are looking at that as part of the study. So when that study comes out, that study is actually incorporating Widener in its study. So to go back to your question, Councilwoman Gibson, as far as it's citywide, there's not citywide parking enforcement like parking zones. It's just zones 1 through 3 and some on-street parking in certain areas. But with the study, what the study is going to do is look at best practices for the whole city. Hope I answered the question, but we're not changing anything different than what was already in the ordinance before. What she was just saying is that on the flyer it says all residents, but it's all residents that are in the RPP, the residential parking.
That needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
So that they can know who's going to be required
Yeah.
to register.
And that's only pretty much on this side of town, nothing on the west side of town?
On the west
I
side,
don't know if they clearly define what the 1, 2, and 3 zones are.
it's on the map, but well, we can make sure we post that and notify that as well. But it's actually on the map, zones 1, zone 2, and zone 3.
And that will be in the presentation on Wednesday?
Yeah. But also we can have that too, hard copy. It's going to be also the link. We have the link to the landing page. They're tightening that up today. But the link on the landing page will show the maps as well. It will show what zone you're in, zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. But all that's laid out as well on the landing page.
And what will be like timing? Because these are residential areas and people come home from work and they want to park. Are they going to have a time set for how long an individual can park in front of someone's home if they're not a resident?
Well, they can't, they shouldn't be parked in there if it's a residential parking zone and the residents have a parking permit process. Anyone that doesn't have a permit shouldn't be parking there.
And how will that be identified? Will they have a sticker on the back of their car?
License plate,
Okay.
license plate.
Okay.
And I know there will be no meters, correct?
Correct, no meters.
Now, I know some old folks who still got a flip phone, who don't have apps and can download apps, you know, how, when they go to park, you know, it's going to be difficult for them, if that makes sense. How are we, you know, what is the plan to make it less difficult for the seniors or older people who don't know anything about, you know, going on an app and paying for parking?
So at the beginning, there's a number they can call. So on the sign that goes up, you'll have the QR code. You can scan the QR code, or you can download the app, or you can call the 800 number. And if you call the 800 number, you can actually pay for your parking that way. Right now, and I know it seems, that's why we have to have someone, that's why, I'm looking at the consultant, because these are a lot of different coordinations that have to happen. One of the things, when you talk about, we have all these poles and meters that are still in place there. It becomes too confusing right now if we were to put pay stations there.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do this in stages, and what I mean by that is, if we put pay stations up and we have poles there, it's just going to be overwhelmingly confusing for people. So what we're going to do is we are ordering bags. We're going to bag the meters, which is why we have to do the sign right now and just give people that option. We don't want to install pay stations and we don't have the ability to, again, based off the lawsuit in the previous parking company, we can't just remove those meters either. There's over 700 meters, and the question becomes, if we remove those meters, where do they go? And there's money in those meters. So between the attorneys, the two law firms, I don't think we should be touching it, because we take that, and where does this money go?
There's still money in them now, you're saying?
There's money in some of these meters that are out there.
Okay.
So we just need to be, as a city right now, again, that lawsuit's happening, we have to be careful. So right now, the best solution is to bag it, put the signs up, and then people can pay for parking that way. We can't not move forward with parking because we're getting too many complaints about people parking everywhere. Mm-hmm. Remember, they're not just going to be enforcing parking in the residential area or on-street parking, but they're also going to be helping with the curb parking, parking in front of the fire hydrants, 20 feet from the curb. So parking is more than just the residential parking and the on-street parking, but they're going to be enforcing all of that.
Is there a fee to our residents?
It's $25 for the parking, residential parking per year.
Per year.
And again, that fee hasn't changed. That was in the ordinance before.
Now, I got two more questions on this issue. I thought one of the complaints or one of the issues with the last parking was that the fees was too high. But this one, the fees are still the same. So nothing changed with the fees.
No, we didn't change anything with the fees. And we have to be careful with that, like I said, because the last company, we're going through that lawsuit situation. So my advice, and I'm looking to legal, is we shouldn't tamper with that stuff right now until we settle this suit.
Why do our residents have to incur a fee for a parking permit? I know it's a question that's going to be asked. I'm asking. Why do they have to pay for residential parking?
Because you're paying for a permit to be parked on the street there. It's another way to control parking in a residential area. And if someone is not registered or have their cars registered, the other thing you got to look at too is we're only allowing 2 cars per house to be registered. So you have to pay for the cost of the enforcement. That's really what it comes down to. And when people are going to ask that question, why are they being charged, it's because we're actually trying to create parking for them in their neighborhoods to keep others that are not supposed to be there out. So the only way you can actually enforce a program is someone has to bear the cost of that, and that's what they're paying for.
What happens when a household got 4 adults and four cars?
They're only allowed to register 2.
And the other 2 just keeps getting tickets every day?
Yes, yes,
They shouldn't be.
They have to park elsewhere.
they're gonna get tickets.
Wow. Now, is there a plan in place to hire Chester residents Or, you know, or is this company bringing their own employees?
Right now, there's only just the two individuals, but when we start building up the parking enforcement, the plan is to hire the Chester residents for the parking enforcement, yes.
I want to go back for a minute. You said 2 per household. Now, the college students, they don't have just 2 adults per house. So how is that going to change, or how does that differ from a resident with being allowed to have 2 cars versus you have student housing and they have 4 or 5 individuals? So how is that going to differ from our residents?
Well, again, it'll go back to the same issue. We're just following what the ordinance says. If we want to change that, then that's something that I would bring up to you all as a body, that we need to look at the ordinance to change the ordinance. But we are not doing anything that's outside of the ordinance. The ordinance is what has been created, even with the previous parking authority. That's what they are just picking up, taking it from there. So if you all feel that we want to change that, you want to change the cost, you want to change the number of people that are allowed to park there, you have the power to do that. But right now, like I said, we're just picking it up where it was left off. But again, but I would say just think through it. Like as the parking study goes, when that parking study comes in, you'll have more data, and you'll be able to make a better informed decision. The other thing too is starting a parking enforcement now will help us create more data in order to really look at that. Because when we look at the residential parking areas, we'll know how many people are registered. So if a household comes in and says they have 4 cars, they're allowed to get a guess, but that guess will expire in 24 hours. But let them build that database. What happened is when the last company left, we have no data. We don't have access to their database. Everything that they had belonged to them. So that's one of the things when we talked before, when we created this contract with Premium, is that we wanted ownership of all the data. Anything that they get, city owns. So whatever goes into the system, we own that. But right now, if I were to try to give you information and make an informed decision, I have no information. I couldn't tell you in the Widener area, like how many cars are in that area. I just couldn't because I don't have that information. But that's what the parking study and that's what this parking enforcement will help us create, is create that information in order to present to you to have a better informed decision. You're asking great questions, but we don't have all the answers to them.
Now, the students, in regards to the students, will they be required to register as well?
Yes. They will have to register, the landlord, the property owner, and then again, whoever has the lease to the property, they will have to register as well.
So that's where I think the issue is going to come, especially if it's student housing and on the lease is 5 people.
Only 2 of them can have it. The other ones better park down at the parking lot that Widener has.
And that's the way it was before with the previous parking entity. You know, you can't have more than 2 people registered per household. That's it. And if you're going to have guests coming, you know, they have to sign up for a guest pass or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even not just guests, but I mean, if you got a husband and wife and they got a teenage child, or they got an adult child that lives with them, or multiple children that live with them with cars, you know, I just don't see how we
how do
came
you
to the
accommodate
conclusion
that, though?
2 cars.
How do you accommodate that?
I don't know.
This is why I'm saying that you guys need data to really look at that, because we know parking is the issue nationwide, right? And we know it's not like the days of old. These streets were built when people didn't have cars, right? Or if they did, they had 1 car per family. Times have changed, and the streets haven't changed. So what we need to do is really look at the information and data that we have to give to you to make a better informed decision. So what is that magic number? We don't know. But as Councilwoman West said, it's been 2 in the ordinance right now. But we also have to look at, it's not just the parking. Think about all the handicap parking we hand out on the same block. And if we got a block that's 200 feet long, and now we have 15 houses on that block. I mean, you can't accommodate all those cars, and then you have 3 handicap parking on that same block. There's just no way you can address that. So in order for us to really make it a true informed decision, let the parking study happen so we can really look and see what the parking study is suggesting. But then at the same time, we can look at the data that we've gathered from the parking enforcement. And then that way you guys can really look at this information, which is the other reason why having someone like the consultant I'm requesting, that person has been doing parking for over 50 years, and they know and they've done it all over. So this individual can help you synthesize that information and help make that informed decision. So that's why, again, you're all asking great questions, but we just don't have answers to all of that. And I know the residents are going to want answers too, but we're trying to just get the parking enforcement back and then let us start gathering the data, and we can go from there.
Thank you.
Will there be any responsibility of this consultant to work with the authority, the board, the parking authority?
Absolutely, because you don't have an executive director of the parking authority, which is why having someone like that can help get our authority up and running, help get the bylaws and all that stuff organized.
Great. Okay,
Go from there.
thanks. That's good, thank you. Councilman Green, you wanted to go through each and every one of these?
Yeah.
All right, so 57.
57.
This is, this is for getting our RFPs and our contracts out. We currently have over 25 RFPs, requests for proposals, that need to go out. I think I briefly discussed this before, but we have RFPs that go from board ups to tree maintenance, clean outs. There's about, I don't have them all off the top of my head, but there's a good 23 of them that are in the purchasing and procurement department. As you all know, we've gone through 2 purchasing agents over the last couple of years. We need to get this department stabilized. We need to have someone to help come in and put the guidelines in place and just help us get this department up and functioning. So what I've proposed here is I am cutting back on the receivers. Fox Chase, as you guys know, we're working with the receiver, and he has a whole bunch of consultants. So Fox Chase is one of his consultants. What we're doing is taking hours from them, cutting back their staff, and then I'm going to actually bring on Greg Schaefer, who worked for PFM, who helped actually establish the rules, I should say the guidelines for the purchasing policy, and he's going to come in and help us get these other 23 out and get the purchasing state procurement policy and everything in place. So that's what the purpose of this is for.
At $175 an hour?
That's the going rate for consultants, yep.
For 9 months. So $136,500.
Right. But what I'm doing is cutting back on the other consultant from PFM. PFM. I think it's PFM, yeah.
So is this just one person?
No,
or
Fox
is this,
Chase. I'm sorry, it's Fox Chase.
Or the entire company?
I'm cutting back their hours and cutting back one of their employees. So in essence, we're just moving Fox Chase's individual from that company, moving them over to our side to work directly with us on a consultant basis, on a contract basis.
Okay. And they will write all of the RFPs.
They're gonna
So
do-
Legal will no longer write them, this company will.
No, legal will do the contracts,
Okay,
but what they have to do is they manage the actual RFP process. So that is the actual purchasing and procurement. So they'll get the scope of work, and the scope of work is what they put in the RFP, and that RFP goes out for bid. So whether they're sending it through pen bid, that's the other system we're going to start using is the Pennsylvania bidding system. that allows us to bid and put everything on this Pennsylvania state bid process. It helps us to expedite the process. It also helps us unify how the process is taking place. So he's going to help get that up and running and get that established as well. Once it goes out for bid, you know, as we talked about, we need to have a consistency in our scoring process. So he will be helping establish that and get that up and running as well. Once it's bidded, and once it's bid out and it's awarded, then what happens, it goes to legal. Legal then prepares the contract. So he's going to do everything from the initial, working with the departments and what they need to go out for bid, to putting together the whole scope of work, putting together the RFP, submitting it for bid, getting the bid scored through the scoring committee, getting it awarded, and then once that's done, it goes to legal for the contract preparation.
Thank you.
One other part to that is our purchasing process, which he will be working on as well. What we want to do is start doing our purchasing from a standpoint where we get better deals. Oftentimes what we do is purchase, well, what is that, Office Max or Mason. We need to have someone that's going to be our purchasing agent, that what they do is they shop for the best deals. And that's normally what your purchasing department does. They'll actually go out and try to procure best pricing, find wholesale. So that's the other thing he'll be doing as well, is really putting our purchasing process together. So that way we're all purchasing from one department, one location, and we're all getting the best price. Right now, when I first got here, we were just, one department orders here, one department orders there. We can't be doing that. We're not getting the best deals, and on top of that, we're not really keeping track of what we're spending. So that's the other thing he's going to be putting in place, is looking at where we get these best prices on any of our office supplies. He's going to be working also with fleet for fuel, on how do we get the best pricing for fuel. Anything that we're purchasing as a city will go through that purchasing process.
Chief, I heard you mention that we had already went through 2 purchasing agents currently. What was the salary for both of those purchasing agents that we went?
70.
And then now it's almost double with this one individual that we're trying to establish.
It's again, it's from a consultant standpoint, yes, and it's only to get the process established. We do have a plan that there's an internal person that we would like to promote into that position. So what we're going to do is, that consultant is only going to be here for 6 to 9 months. I'm just going to put it out there. Our intent is we like to promote Karen Thompson to that position. She's been here. She has been proving herself in the accounts payable department. What we want to do is take our time and find the right account payable clerk to replace her. So what we're doing is asking Greg to come in, get everything established, get the process in place, while we look to try to hire another
Who is that
accounts payable.
person? I'm sorry. Who is that person?
Karen Thompson.
Karen Thompson.
Yes.
So
She's local. I mean, she's right here in AP right now.
would she then receive the same amount of compensation as Greg did while he's doing the consulting?
He's a consultant. No.
So he's getting paid double to be a consultant, but once he's done consulting, we'll hire somebody to do exactly what he was doing consulting, but for a less rate, or less of a rate.
Correct.
Okay,
It's a consultant.
gotcha.
Is he still going to serve as project manager on the receiver side?
No, he has to step away from that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's the current project manager for the receiver. Oh, okay.
Yeah. For the ARPA. So that's what I mean when I was saying we're taking him away from the consultant side from Fox Chase. That's
And
who he
bringing
currently
him
works for, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we good on 57?
Yes. 62.
Yep, hold on. Since we're going in order, 58 and 60, both of them have the position as an acting, one deputy chief and one as captain? Should it be acting, or should it just be those titles?
They're not acting.
Okay.
That shouldn't be on there.
All right, thanks.
Are these new positions being created, or is it just some retirees, or?
No, the actual deputy has been vacant since the beginning of the year. We just haven't filled it. And the other ones, so it's a promotion to the deputy, and the other ones are promotions from people moving up.
From people, okay.
Yeah. But
And
none
you-
of them they're not new positions.
And you did look at other talent
That is correct.
in the department. You know, I asked you about that before.
Yes, there was for the deputy, there was an interview of, help me out, Chief, how many? Nine individuals were interviewed. And there was a panel that did the interview for the deputy. And this, Mr. McBreen ended up being the candidate that was awarded out of the 9. And the other ones are positions that they have to take the tests. They pass the test. Again, they go through a review process as well, and they got promoted through that process.
I don't know, I've just been hearing about the one for a long time, way before now, that they were being groomed for the position. So,
It went through the process.
yeah, I hear you.
All right, so R61,
62.
I have a question about 61. So 61, we're trying to change it from, it's currently 16 years old, and we want to move it to 15 years old.
correct.
But what about, I'm not sure, I have to look at the state statute. Can you be 14 years old with the working permits? And what about 14-year-old, excuse me, what if you're 14 years old, you have your working permits, and you're about to attend high school?
Well, I can tell you that I think the reason it was 17 before, and Councilwoman West can probably speak to this better than I could. I know that it was moved to 17 because there were issues before here when they hired people below the age of 17, and there were some problems. But we're getting these these young men and women from Education Foundation. So they are actually getting these individuals prepared. The reason we said 15, because we feel that especially with what's going on now, it gives us an opportunity to help get young people off the street. But 15 is of an age where it's a little bit more manageable from her standpoint, from Education Foundation, because that's really who she has there, and that's who she's been working with to teach them. I didn't want to go any lower than that because we're only getting the individuals from the Educational Foundation. So that's where we're getting the individuals from. So that's why we said 15. Also 15, she's going to send a supervisor with them. So she will have a supervisor that will manage anywhere from 5 to 6 of them to help kind of prevent whatever happened before from happening again.
And I agree, you know, with the, I forget her name, but I spoke to her the other day, and she said they had some very talented young people there in this age bracket. And I think, although we have some 14-year-olds, because I know when I first started working, I worked at 13, you know, but I had my working papers, you know. But it's a little bit different now. The maturity level is a little different. So I think 15 is reasonable.
Okay. Any others for 61? We're good?
My last one is just 62.
62. Another opportunity to apply for another grant for electric vehicles. EPA and the environmental groups that are out there, they're really pushing to apply for these grants. We already received a grant for We're waiting for some of our vehicles to arrive now. So they encouraged us to apply again for some additional electric vehicles to add to our fleet. So that's what this is for as well.
And you said we already have electric vehicles on the way?
We do.
For
We
which
have
department?
Public Works. We have two dump trucks and a garbage truck.
Now, do we have a charging station?
It's coming with the charging station. So with the new Public Works site, we're looking at we were going to put it at the old site, but since we have a new site now, we're not going to put it there. I believe Mr. Alexander and Mr. Pearson are working on getting the charging stations, a couple of them here in the parking lot here in City Hall on the east side. So we can charge them there, but once the new facility is built, all the charging stations will be there.
Will these charging stations be something that, you know, the public would be able to use and we could make money off of that?
That's a great question. We are trying to push for that, so that if we put these charging stations here, that we can keep them here and maybe make a little income off of that for the public if they needed to have a charging station. I don't believe there's any charging stations in Chester.
No.
So this would be the first that we could allow for people, because you know Tesla and all these other places, it tells you where charging stations are at. So we would like to push and to see if we can keep them here and just build other ones at the new facility to really take care of our vehicles that we have there. But to answer to your question, Councilman West, we're looking into that to see if we can make that happen.
Any questions from those gathered out there? Directors, department heads, public?
I have a question. Do we have, I see a new face in the room. Do we have a new member of a department head? Okay.
Yes, thank you for catching that. Mr. Andrew Heyman, you want to come on up? He's the new Public Works Director. Go ahead. Introduce
Good
yourself.
It's on, it's just low.
I'm a quieter person. I apologize. Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. I'm Andrew Heyman. I'm the new Director of Public Works. It's an honor to be here. This is really fun. This is a new process, seeing how you do things here. So appreciate it. If you want to know about my background, I came here from my last position where I was the Borough Manager in Fallcroft. I'm a council member in Upper Darby Township as well, where I serve as Vice President of Council. And you know, I've got some experience working for the state legislature before that. Happy to answer any questions you have about me.
You're on council now.
Yes,
Where is it again?
in Upper Darby.
Upper Darby.
First and foremost, welcome to City Hall. Happy to have you here. I knew I recollect your face from somewhere. It's from council in Upper Darby. That makes sense. So I guess we'll have some further conversations after this, but happy to have you aboard.
Thank you so much. Like I said, it's an honor. Anybody who wants to stay with me after, I'll be here. Would love to speak with you and get to know you.
Welcome to Chester.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, this meeting is adjourned. We are heading into executive session. Lisa.